back into the Statesman bonnet for this episode. So the last video that I did was making this reverse cowl. I've gone with a 2-inch rise, and that's going to be plenty of clearance, and that's what the customer wanted for their motor that they've got. And I made a couple little bits of tooling for the new hammer, and then made this centerline off what originally was there. So the centerline is the same as what was there originally, so keeping that little bit of factory sort of thing there, just with a nice 2-inch. And once you start, going 3-4 inches, it's starting to look pretty tall. But for this car and how it's going to look and everything, I think a 2 inches is really nice. So got a little bit of overhang on the back, just for style sort of thing. And then in this episode, I'm going to be mounting this to the bonnet and doing a bit of work on the inside frame. And originally, I was going to take the skin off the inside frame, but I don't have the car here, and I don't really want to risk it moving a little bit just in case it moves a couple mil here and there. So I'll keep most of the frame there so I can keep the shape and everything in the shape that it needs to be, but I'll make a few little bit of bracing areas that I can tack in, cut out the inner frame where I need to cut it out, and then that inner frame will be cut out, repaired, modified to what's got to be done. And then the important thing with that too is I can get in there with a hammer and dolly. So you're always going to get shrink back when you're welding, and it is important to be able to get a dolly up in there and stretch that weld back out so you get a nice finish, especially with a low crown on a bonnet. Start getting into this and how I'm going to go about it. G'day to everyone that's new here or you haven't been here before. So let's get into it and get some action happening. These inner bits in here, I'm going to bring them and change that angle in a little bit through this stiffener here. I have already cut them out, but I've got to bring that in so there's clearance in the center for the reverse cowl. And then there's this big chunky bit here, so I've marked a bit of a line through here so I can cut that, and there's a pretty equal flange all the way around. So that's what I'm doing underneath to start with. And then we'll modify these as well and cut all this ugly stuff out. The inner structure and everything in here, that's all cut out, inner frame's out. And then I've clecoed this in, scribed in the sides, filed up the edges, and then cut this center section out. And I have left a little bit of material here. I've cut on the edges down in through here, so the skin can actually drop in and weld properly to the edge. But I've left a little piece in here. And the reason for that is so when you're driving the car and you're looking through the hole that's in the back and you're driving and looking through, you're not just seeing bare frame in the back of the bonnet, and you actually see like a little bit of the bonnet there. So for style-wise and aspect-wise, like just something nice for the driver while they're driving, it just looks better through the back to have a little bit of a panel here. But I've left a couple little tabs on this job here. Typically I would hold it, tack one end and go all the way through and keep tacking and get it nice all the way through. But in this, I just want to pull that skin up just a little bit up to what's here. So I've left a little bit of a cleco tab so I can drop this on and then run a cleco in there. As you can see, there's a little bit of a gap here, so that'll pull that up when I go to actually tacking it in and fully welding it. And then just where that tab is, I can sneak in a little air hacksaw blade in there. And then once everything's tacked in, I can run through and just cut that little tab off, and then fully hammer it up and get it all nice. So that's it. We'll weld this in and then move on to the next stage in moving and modifying a couple things of the inner frame. I've gone ahead and tacked everything in, had all that tacked up, cut my little cleco tabs up, welded up a little hole, and then fully welded in the areas that I can actually get to. So everything I could sort of, where I cut the frame out in the middle, I could fully TIG weld that in. So I've TIGged that in, hammered it up, and got to those zones. But now I want to cut the bracing out of the front, cut the bracing out of the rear. So I've got a bit of box section here that I'll put up underneath on the frame, tack the frame off so the frame's not going to move anywhere, and then I can take the center section of the rear bracing out, do the modifications that I want, and then do the same with the front too. So tack some box on the front, take all the bracing out, do everything, and then I can fully finish off the welds that I need to on the ends and front onto the skin. Hammer that up, sand it up, and then last thing I'll do is the little inner brace that I'm going to change up a little bit, put that in, modify that, and then weld that in place too. So we'll keep cracking and put a brace on this frame, and then we can sneak some parts out. The rear inner frame is tacked back in now, and the reason I've done it on the bench and done it from underneath is If you do that sitting on the stand the way it is, that's going to push this skin right up, and then it's going to throw your shape out. So you're better off, I laid it on this bar and then on that front section in there as well. So that just makes for a better fitment, and that everything is going to fit in properly when that welds back in. So keep that in mind. Don't tack in a panel like this. If your bonnet's upside down, you're going to tack it in the wrong shape. So anyway, this is all tacked in, and I've just got to hammer this lip in here back over. So hammer that lip back over, and then this is what I was doing in the front section. So where that sort of curved in and went to the center bit, I'll cut that out and then just done it so it's the same all the way through. So now I'll move into the front, cut the front bracing out, weld up the pinholes, and then do a few other things I want to do in there. I had to cut out a little more of the frame just in here, and I'll weld that back in, but I'll put a new lip in just up in here because there was some dodgy repairs. Like, look at that, bit of square welded in, MIG weld bits, and it was all rusted underneath, and I couldn't keep that there. So got rid of all that, added a new lip in here. So that's done, and the bonnet pins is all welded up both sides. Front section, hammered up this section in here. So now I can go ahead and weld the other piece in and then move into doing the center braces. This is what I use for a rust conditioner. So chuck this stuff on and then use some metho to wash it off, put it on with a bit of scotchy. So that's a rust conditioner, and then I'll use this to seal it. So paint this over on the inner frames, and then I can weld everything in. That's good rust protection. Stop the rust coming through in the future. The rear section's all welded in now, and the front section's in. Reverse cow's in, all hammered up, and I've put these side panels in. And as you can see, they're a lot wider, so this little bit that's in here too, I'll have that so that comes straight through here as well. And change some things up here. So I'll have a think about whether I want to do a curved bit or what it's going to be like, just to change that angle a bit, and then weld that in, and this thing will be done. done all the adjustments to the inner frame on one side, so I ended up shrinking up in this zone, stretching in here, and actually bringing that angle a little bit to give me some clearance so I could continue this all the way through at an equal distance. And that's what we had. And this distance between here is a bit further out, and doing the shrinking and stretching in here has changed that line. So because that line's changed, I've had to add a bit of material, which there was a nice little curve piece that I cut off from here, which I used to weld in there so that could join back up. And then just a little added piece in here too. So that angle changes a little bit, which changes the finishing position. But that's in there now, and that's pretty much what I'm looking for. So that is looking pretty factory original, and nothing overhanging and looking ugly. So that's how it is, and that's what it was. So I'll do the other side, and we'll get this thing welded in and finished. All right, so that's it for the reverse cowl. Everything's hammered up, sanded, welded, inner frame, done the old pinholes where the pins went through, and there was a fair bit of rust up in there, so I had to do a bit of a rust section, because if that wasn't fixed 100%, this thing would have rusted out again down in that area. So if you're going to go as far as doing something like this, go that little bit extra, and make sure all the rust is out of this thing, because you want it to last long and keep a customer happy. So that's it. I'm loving the way it looks, and a nice 2-inch reverse, really nice. Kept the inner frame as sort of factory as I can, and yeah, so that's it for this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.